My 7-year-old daughter's scream cut through our Sacramento house at 14:30 hours on March 15th. I'd just stepped through the front door after 8 months deployed overseas, combat, IEDs, watching friends die, and the sound turned my blood to ice. Then I heard him. "I told you to stop whining, bad girls get punished." A man's voice. In my house. Threatening my daughter. My name is Nathan Moore, and I'm 40 years old. I spent those 8 months believing I had a family worth fighting for, a wife who loved me, a daughter who needed me. I was wrong about the wife. But Lily? My little girl needed me more than I ever imagined. I didn't hesitate. I didn't process. I took the stairs 3 at a time, following the sound of Lily crying. What I saw when I slammed open her bedroom door would fuel every decision I made for the next 3 years. But let me start from the beginning. Before I go any further, let me know in the comments where in the world you are watching from, and make sure to subscribe, because tomorrow I will share a story you don't want to miss. I pushed open the front door at 14:30 hours, duffel bag still over my shoulder, anticipating the sound of Lily's excited squeal when she saw me. Flight had gotten in 3 hours early. I'd wanted to surprise them, Emma and our daughter, with Daddy coming home from deployment ahead of schedule. The house was quiet except for a sound coming from upstairs. Crying. My 7-year-old daughter crying. Then a man's voice. "I told you to stop whining. You spilled juice on my shirt, bad girls get punished." My blood turned to ice, then immediately to fire. I dropped my bag and pulled out my phone, hitting record as I took the stairs 3 at a time. The sound was coming from Lily's bedroom. I slammed the door open. The scene burned itself into my brain. Lily pressed against her wall, tears streaming down her face, red mark already forming on her left arm. Some piece of shit in his 30s, hand raised, standing over my daughter in my house. He turned. "Who the hell?" I didn't let him finish. I closed the distance in 2 steps and drove my fist into his face with every ounce of combat training and rage I possessed. His nose shattered. Blood exploded across his face as he went down hard, hitting the floor with a satisfying crack. "Daddy!" Lily screamed. "Go to your room and close the door, baby," I said, not taking my eyes off the bastard. My voice was calm, terrifyingly calm. "Right now." She ran past me and I heard her door slam shut down the hall. The man scrambled backward, hand to his bleeding face. "You broke my fucking nose. You can't." "I can't." I grabbed him by his shirt and hauled him up against the wall. "You're in my house, putting your hands on my daughter, and you're telling me what I can't do?" "Emma!" he screamed, voice nasally and pathetic through the blood. "Emma!" Footsteps thundered up the stairs. My wife appeared in the doorway, and the look on her face told me everything I needed to know. No shock, no confusion about who this man was or why he was in our daughter's room. Just guilt and fear. "Nathan, oh my God," she started. "How long?" I asked, still holding the bastard by his collar. "How long has this piece of shit been around my daughter?" Emma's face crumbled. "Nathan, I can explain." "How long?" 3 months, she whispered. 3 months. I'd been deployed for 8. She couldn't even wait half that time before bringing another man into our home, into Lily's life. I threw the bastard into the hallway. He crumpled against the wall, leaving a smear of blood on the paint. I turned to Emma. 3 months. You let this motherfucker around our daughter for 3 months while I was deployed? While I was getting shot at defending this country, you were letting some abusive piece of garbage near Lily. It's not like that, Emma tried. I saw the mark on her arm, Emma. I heard him tell her bad girls get punished. So you tell me exactly what it's like. The bastard struggled to his feet, still holding his destroyed nose. Listen, man, this is between you and your wife. The kid's just clumsy, she spilled. I grabbed him by the throat and slammed him against the wall hard enough to rattle the pictures hanging there. His eyes went wide with real fear. She's 7 years old, and you just called my daughter clumsy like that justifies putting your hands on her. You know why you're still conscious right now? Because I don't want Lily to hear me kill you. That's the only reason. His face was turning red. Emma grabbed my arm. Nathan, please, we can work this out. Work this out? I laughed. Actually laughed. The sound was cold enough to make Emma step back. You cheated on me while I was deployed. You brought an abusive asshole around our daughter. You let him put his hands on her. There is no working this out. There's you losing everything." I released him, and he slid down the wall, gasping. I pulled out my phone, still recording, and dialed 911. "What are you doing?" Emma asked, voice shaking. "Calling the police, then calling my lawyer, then calling CPS. "Nathan, no, please, we can—" "Yes, I need to report child abuse and assault," I said into the phone, giving them the address. My voice was steady, professional, like I was reporting an incident on patrol. I just returned from military deployment and found a man physically abusing my 7-year-old daughter in our home. The bastard's eyes went wide as he realized what was happening. Emma collapsed onto the floor, sobbing. And me? I felt nothing but cold, calculated rage. This wasn't over. This was just the beginning of their destruction. The police arrived within 10 minutes. 2 officers, 1 female, 1 male, stepping through my front door with professional calm that told me they'd seen this kind of shit before. "I'm Officer Clarice Rodriguez," the female officer said. "This is Officer Patterson. Who called 911? I did." I stepped forward. "Nathan Moore, active duty military, just returned from deployment. Found that man." I pointed at Brandon, still slumped in the hallway. "Abusing my daughter." Officer Rodriguez's eyes moved to Brandon's destroyed face, then to me, then to Emma sitting on the stairs crying. "We're going to need to separate everyone and take statements." They did exactly that. Officer Patterson took Brandon outside. Another officer who'd arrived took Emma into the living room. Officer Rodriguez stayed with me in the kitchen. "Walk me through what happened," she said. I did. Kept it factual. Arrived home at 14:30 hours, heard my daughter crying and a man's voice, started recording on my phone, found Brandon standing over Lily with a fresh mark on her arm, telling her bad girls get punished, defended my daughter. "You have video?" Rodriguez asked. I showed her. She watched it twice, her jaw tightening. "Mr. Moore, I need to interview your daughter. Is there someone who can be with her?" "Just me. Her mother's the one who let this happen." Rodriguez nodded. "I'll make it as gentle as possible." I led her upstairs to Lily's room. My daughter was sitting on her bed, clutching her stuffed elephant. She looked so small. "Lily, sweetie," I said. "This is Officer Rodriguez. She needs to ask you some questions about Brandon. Is that okay?" Lily nodded. I started to leave, but Rodriguez stopped me. "You can stay if it makes her more comfortable." I sat beside Lily while Rodriguez knelt down to her level. "Lily, I need you to tell me about Brandon." Rodriguez said gently, "Has he hurt you before today?" Lily looked at me. I nodded. "He gets mad when I spill things," she said quietly. "He grabbed my arm last week when I knocked over a cup, and he pinches me sometimes when Mom's not looking. He says I'm stupid and clumsy." My hands curled into fists. "How long has Brandon been coming to your house?" Rodriguez asked. "I don't know. A while. Since Daddy left." "And does your mom know Brandon gets mad at you?" Lily nodded. "She told me not to make him angry. She said he gets frustrated sometimes, but he doesn't mean it." Rodriguez's expression hardened. She asked a few more questions, gentle but thorough, then stood. "Thank you, Lily. You were very brave." Outside Lily's room, Rodriguez turned to me. "Mr. Moore, based on your daughter's testimony, Brandon Sands is being arrested for child abuse. And your wife. We're reporting this to CPS. She knew about the abuse and failed to protect your daughter. What happens now? You need a lawyer, immediately, family law, someone who handles custody cases. Because CPS is going to investigate and you're going to want emergency custody while they do." I pulled out my phone and texted Victor Hubert, a buddy from my unit. His wife Carmina was a family law attorney. Within 30 seconds he'd responded, "She's pulling files now. Give her an hour." Downstairs they were leading Brandon out in handcuffs. His face was a mess, swollen, bloody, exactly what he deserved. He tried to catch my eye. I stared right through him like he didn't exist. Rodriguez spoke to Emma. "Ma'am, given the circumstances, you need to stay elsewhere tonight." "This is my house," Emma started. Your husband is the primary on the lease and the non-offending parent, Rodriguez said firmly. It would be best if you left while this gets sorted out. Emma looked at me, tears streaming. Nathan, where am I supposed to go? Call your mother. Call a friend. Call another boyfriend for all I care, but you're not staying under the same roof as Lily tonight. She went upstairs to pack, escorted by Officer Patterson. I checked on Lily again. She was still on her bed, still holding that elephant. Daddy? Her voice was so small. Is Brandon going to come back? I sat beside her and pulled her into my arms. Never. I promise you. Never. Is Mommy mad at me? My heart shattered. No, baby. None of this is your fault. Not even a little bit. Mommy made some bad choices and Brandon is a bad person. But you're perfect, and I'm going to make sure you're safe now. She cried into my shoulder. I held her and made silent promises that I'd burn down the world before I let anyone hurt her again. By 2100 hours, Carmina Hubert was sitting at my kitchen table, emergency custody paperwork spread out in front of her. I've already filed for emergency temporary custody, she said. Hearings tomorrow. Judge William Harris, father of 3, hates child abusers. We present the police report, the photographs, Lily's statement, and you'll have temporary full custody by tomorrow afternoon. What do I need to do? Document everything, the affair, Brandon's access to Lily. Every piece of evidence that shows Emma prioritized her relationship over your daughter's safety. I opened my laptop. Already started. I showed her bank statements with hotel charges during my deployment, credit card bills for men's clothing in sizes that definitely weren't mine, phone records showing thousands of texts between Emma and a number I'd confirmed was Brandon's. Carmina smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. You're making my job easy. I spent 8 months planning military operations. I know how to document evidence. She leaned back. Good, because Emma's going to fight this, and we're going to destroy her. After Carmina left around 2300 hours, I sat at my laptop and started digging into Brandon Sands' life. Social media first. His Facebook was public. Amateur mistake. Profile photos showed him in business casual, confident smile. Posts about integrity and leadership. One from 2 months ago. True character is doing the right thing when no one's watching. I screenshotted it. The irony would be perfect later. His employment was listed. Middle manager at a tech company called Vertex Solutions in Sacramento. More screenshots. His LinkedIn showed the same polished facade. Teamwork, innovation, driving results. All of it was about to come crashing down. I opened a new email at 0200 hours. Addressed it to Vertex's HR department. The email address was right there on their website. To whom it may concern, I am writing to inform you that your employee, Brandon Sands, was arrested today for child abuse. Attached you will find the police report and photographic evidence of injuries he inflicted on my 7-year-old daughter. I believe your organization should review whether Mr. Sands represents the values you claim to uphold. I attached the police report, the photographs of Lily's arm, the arrest record that was already public information. Then I found the executive team page on Vertex's website. CEO, COO, VP of Human Resources, VP of Operations. I sent the same email to every single one of them. Send. Next target, his living situation. Public records showed Brandon rented an apartment on the east side of Sacramento. Property owned by someone named Eloise Chang. I found her email through the property management website. Sent her the same documentation with a simple note. Your tenant, Brandon Sands, was arrested today for abusing my daughter. Thought you should know who's living in your property. Then I turned to his personal life. Brandon's Facebook showed family connections. His brother, Mason Sands, had posted birthday wishes on Brandon's wall last month. Tagged photos together at some barbecue last summer. I sent Mason a Facebook message with the full dossier attached. Thought you should know what kind of man your brother really is. Within minutes, Mason blocked me. But before he did, I watched him untag himself from every photo with Brandon, start deleting posts. Family relationships destroyed. Good. I kept digging. Found Brandon's Instagram, mostly food photos and gym selfies. His Twitter was sparse but included complaints about entitled parents and kids these days. I documented all of it. By the time I finally shut the laptop at 0500 hours, I'd created a systematic plan to dismantle every aspect of Brandon Sands' life that wasn't already destroyed by his arrest. Then I set an alarm for 0900 and tried to get 3 hours of sleep. The next morning, March 16th, I woke to an email notification. Vertex Solutions HR, subject line, Re. Brandon Sands. Mr. Moore, thank you for bringing this matter to our attention. Please be advised that Mr. Sands no longer represents our organization. We appreciate you contacting us. Fired. Less than 12 hours after I'd sent that email. I felt the first real satisfaction since coming home. Brandon's professional life was over. One piece down. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number that turned out to be Eloise Chang. Mr. Moore, I have grandchildren. Brandon Sands has 48 hours to vacate my property. Thank you for the information. 2 pieces down. I checked Brandon's Facebook one more time. Mason had removed every trace of his brother from his profile. The birthday post, gone. The barbecue photos, gone. Family connection severed. 3 pieces down, and it had only been one night. I made coffee, checked on Lily, still sleeping, hopefully dreamless, and started preparing for the custody hearing at 1400 hours. Carmina arrived at my house around 1100 to review strategy. Judge Harris is fair, but he's tough, she said, spreading documents across the table. We present the police report, the medical evidence, Lily's testimony to Officer Rodriguez. We emphasize that Emma knew about the abuse and told Lily to avoid making Brandon angry. That's failure to protect, clear as day. What's Emma going to argue? Probably that she didn't know it was abuse, that Brandon was just frustrated sometimes, that she's a good mother who made a mistake. She told Lily not to make him angry. She watched him call our daughter stupid and did nothing. I know. And we're going to make sure Judge Harris knows it too. Carmina looked at me seriously. Nathan, this hearing determines everything. Full custody versus shared custody. Your ability to protect Lily versus Emma getting unsupervised access. We need to win this. We will. Emma's going to cry. She's going to play the victim, the lonely military wife who made a mistake. Don't let it affect you. I thought about Lily's small voice asking if Mommy was mad at her. It won't. Carmina nodded. Then let's go destroy her. We arrived at family court at 1330 hours on March 16th. The building smelled like floor polish and stale coffee. Reminded me of every military admin office I'd ever sat in, waiting for paperwork that determined my future. Carmina carried a leather briefcase full of evidence. I carried nothing but cold determination. Emma showed up 10 minutes later with a public defender who looked fresh out of law school. Kid couldn't have been older than 25, kept adjusting his tie like it was strangling him. Emma's eyes were red from crying. She tried to catch my gaze. I looked right through her. The hearing started at 1400 hours sharp. Judge William Harris was exactly what Carmina had promised. Middle-aged, stern expression, no patience for bullshit. He had photos of his own kids on his desk. 3 of them, ranging from maybe 10 to 16 years old. He reviewed the police report in silence, studied the photographs of Lily's arm, read Officer Rodriguez's statement about what Lily had told her. Then he looked directly at Emma. Mrs. Moore, he said, voice like gravel. You allowed a man who was abusing your daughter to remain in your home? Emma's lawyer started to speak. She cut him off. Your Honor, I didn't know it was abuse. Brandon he has a short temper sometimes. I talked to Lily about being more careful around him. You told your daughter to be more careful around her abuser. Judge Harris's tone could have cut steel. I didn't think, it wasn't that serious. Brandon wouldn't really hurt her. He just gets frustrated when she spills things or makes messes. There are photographs of bruises on a 7-year-old child, Mrs. Moore. How much more serious does it need to be? Emma started crying. Nathan just got back from deployment. He doesn't understand what it's been like. I was alone for 8 months trying to handle everything by myself. I couldn't stay quiet. Your Honor, I was deployed for 8 months serving my country. My wife couldn't wait 2 months before starting an affair with a man who abused our daughter. And when I caught him in the act, her first instinct was to defend him. She told me it wasn't that serious. She told me Lily was clumsy. She has not once, not for a single second, prioritized our daughter's safety over her relationship with her abuser. Judge Harris held up a hand. Mr. Moore, I understand your anger, but let your attorney speak. Carmina stood. Your Honor, we're requesting full temporary custody for Mr. Moore with supervised visitation only for Mrs. Moore, pending the outcome of the CPS investigation and criminal charges against Brandon Sands. Emma's lawyer objected. Your Honor, Mrs. Moore has never herself harmed the child. No, Judge Harris interrupted. She just allowed someone else to do it and told her daughter to be more careful. That's called failure to protect, counselor, and it's grounds for removal in CPS cases. He signed the order with decisive strokes. Temporary full custody to Nathan Moore, effective immediately. Emma Moore will have supervised visitation 2 hours per week at a court-approved facility until the CPS investigation concludes. Mrs. Moore, you are hereby ordered to vacate the family residence within 48 hours and to maintain no contact with Brandon Sands. If you violate either condition, you will be held in contempt. We're adjourned. Emma's face crumbled completely. I want to see my daughter. You can see her 2 hours a week under supervision. Be grateful you're getting that. Walking out of that courtroom felt like the first real breath after drowning. Carmina was already planning next moves. Divorce papers get filed tomorrow. We'll push for expedited proceedings given the circumstances. Emma's going to have to get a full-time job because she's going to be paying child support. Good. Nathan, I have to ask, how far are you planning to take this? I looked at her steadily. As far as it needs to go. They hurt my daughter. Emma enabled it. They both need to face consequences that match their actions. She nodded slowly. Just remember that revenge is a dish best served through proper legal channels. I'm not planning to do anything illegal, Carmina. I'm just planning to make sure the truth comes out. Everywhere. To everyone. That evening at 1800 hours, I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop and started building the next phase. A timeline. Simple. Factual. Devastating. January 15th, Nathan Moore deployed overseas. March 15th, credit card statement shows first charge at Marriott Hotel downtown Sacramento. Same day, Emma's text messages to Brandon Sands begin. April 2nd, bank records show purchase at Men's Warehouse, size XL. Nathan wears medium. May 20th, text messages show Brandon mentions coming over tonight while the kid's at school. July 8th, Lily's teacher notes behavioral changes. Withdrawn, anxious. September 15th, Nathan Moore returns from deployment. Finds Brandon Sands abusing Lily Moore. Police called. Brandon arrested. September 16th, emergency custody hearing. Judge William Harris grants full custody to Nathan Moore. Just facts. No commentary. I let the timeline speak for itself. Then I started gathering email addresses. Emma's book club friends, PTA members, every mutual friend we had on Facebook. The truth was going to reach every corner of Emma's world. And she'd have no one left but herself to blame. The next morning, March 17th at 800 hours, I hit send. The email went to 47 people. Every mutual friend Emma and I had on Facebook. Every PTA member whose contact information I could find in Lily's school directory. Every woman in Emma's book club whose email address was listed on their group page. Subject line. Timeline of events. More family. No explanation. No emotional plea. Just the attachment. The document was 2 pages. Clean. Professional. Devastating. January 15th. Nathan Moore deployed overseas for 8-month assignment. March 15th. First credit card charge appears at Marriott Hotel downtown Sacramento. Text message records show first communication between Emma Moore and Brandon Sands. April 7th. Bank statement shows purchase at Men's Warehouse, size XL men's clothing. Nathan Moore wears size medium. May 20th. Text messages reference Brandon Sands, coming over tonight while the kid's at school. July 8th. Lily Moore's teacher documents behavioral changes. Withdrawal, anxiety, difficulty concentrating. September 15th. Nathan Moore returns from deployment early. Discovers Brandon Sands physically abusing Lily Moore in family home. Police called. Brandon Sands arrested for child abuse. September 16th. Emergency custody hearing. Judge William Harris grants full custody to Nathan Moore, supervised visitation only for Emma Moore due to failure to protect child from abuse. Attached. Police report, photographs of injuries, court order. Just facts. I'd learned in the military that facts don't need spin. They just need visibility. The response started within 30 minutes. I watched Emma's Facebook page throughout the day. Comments that had said things like, "Hang in there, girl, and you deserve better," started disappearing. One by one, they vanished like they'd never existed. By noon, her page was silent. At 1300 hours, I got a text from Victor. His wife Carmina had heard from someone in the PTA that Emma had been asked to step down from her volunteer position immediately. Something about not representing the values of the organization. At 1500 hours, I checked my email and found a forwarded message. Someone had sent me the email Emma received from her book club coordinator, a woman named Shelley Morrison. "Emma, after careful consideration, we've decided it's best if you don't attend future book club meetings. Several members are uncomfortable given the recent allegations and court findings. We wish you well." Allegations. Court findings. Not even willing to call it what it was. But they'd still cut her loose. By 1700 hours, Emma's entire support network had evaporated. The friends who'd believed her sob story about the cruel military husband. The women who'd sympathized with her loneliness. The people who'd posted supportive comments and offered shoulders to cry on. All gone. At 18:15 hours, my phone rang. Emma's number. I almost didn't answer. But I wanted to hear this. "Hello? Nathan." Her voice was wrecked, sobbing, barely intelligible. "Nathan, please. People are treating me like a monster. Everyone's turning on me. The book club uninvited me. The PTA asked me to leave. Friends won't return my calls. Why are you doing this? Why are you destroying my entire life?" I sat down at the kitchen table. My voice came out cold, controlled. "I'm not destroying anything, Emma. I'm just making sure people know the truth. You're the one who chose to cheat on me while I was deployed. You're the one who chose to let Brandon around Lily. You're the one who chose to defend him instead of protecting her. All I did was document your choices. This is cruel." "Cruel?" I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You want to talk about cruel, Emma? A 7-year-old crying because your boyfriend grabbed her too hard? That's cruel. A little girl being told she's stupid and clumsy by a grown man she's supposed to trust, that's cruel. A child learning that her mother cares more about her affair than her safety, that's cruel. What I'm doing? This isn't cruelty. This is just consequences. I made a mistake. People make mistakes. You made choices, deliberate, selfish choices, and now you get to live with them. Every single person who's cutting you out of their life right now, they're doing it because they know exactly what you did. Because the facts speak for themselves." She was sobbing harder now. I don't have anyone left." "Good. Maybe you'll understand a fraction of what Lily felt when she realized her own mother wouldn't protect her." The line went dead. She'd hung up. I set the phone down and felt absolutely nothing except cold, sharp satisfaction. 3 weeks after I'd walked through my front door to find Brandon's hands on my daughter, I sat across from Prosecutor Glazer Robinson in her office downtown Sacramento. She spread documents across her desk, like a general planning a siege. "I've interviewed Lily with a child psychologist present," Glazer said, tapping a thick folder. "Dr. Margaret Walters. Between Lily's testimony, the medical evidence, and your documentation, I've built an airtight case." "Brandon's attorney tried to cut a deal?" I asked. "Oh yeah. Wanted to plead it down to simple battery. Claimed it was a one-time incident, a misunderstanding. Said Brandon got frustrated but didn't mean to hurt anyone." Glazer's smile was sharp. I rejected it. "Good. We're going to trial. And I'm not just proving he hurt Lily that day. I'm proving a pattern of abuse. That this wasn't an accident or a moment of frustration. That Brandon Sands is exactly what he looks like. A grown man who gets off on hurting children." I pulled out the folder I'd prepared. Everything's here. Every text message between Emma and Brandon. Photos showing Brandon was at our house multiple times while I was deployed. Bank statements proving Emma paid for dinners, bought him gifts. Timeline of when Lily's behavior started changing according to her teachers. Everything that shows Brandon had access and opportunity. Glaza flipped through the file. Her eyes lit up. Brandon's attorney is going to hate this. That's the idea. The trial started the first week of May. I sat in that courtroom every single day. Front row, directly in Brandon's line of sight. I wanted him to see me. Wanted him to know that I wasn't going anywhere until I watched him get exactly what he deserved. He tried not to look at me. Kept his eyes down, focused on his attorney or the judge. But I'd catch him glancing over, and every time he did, I just stared. Cold. Unwavering. Let him squirm. Emma was called as a witness on day 3. She walked to the stand in a conservative dress, hair pulled back, looking every bit the respectable suburban mother. Playing the part. Brandon's attorney, a guy named Richard Bellamy, went easy on her. Asked softball questions about her relationship with Brandon, how he'd been around Lily, whether she'd ever seen him be violent. Brandon could get frustrated sometimes, Emma said carefully. But he's not a violent person. He never meant to hurt Lily. Then Glaza stood up for cross-examination. Mrs. Moore, you testified that Mr. Sands got frustrated sometimes. How many times did you witness him getting frustrated with your daughter? Emma hesitated. I don't know exactly. A few times, maybe. More than 5 times? Probably. More than 10? Silence. Mrs. Moore, your daughter testified that Mr. Sands called her stupid on multiple occasions. Did you ever hear him say that? He didn't mean it like, yes or no, Mrs. Moore. Did you hear Brandon Sands call your 7-year-old daughter stupid? Yes? And what did you do when you heard him say that? Emma's face flushed. I told Lily not to take it personally. That Brandon just gets frustrated when things go wrong. You told your daughter not to take it personally when a grown man called her stupid? I didn't think it was that serious. You didn't think it was serious. Did you tell Mr. Sands to stop calling your daughter names? Not in those words, but yes or no. Did you tell him to stop? No. I watched the jury. Every single face showed the same thing. Disgust. You could see them asking themselves, what kind of mother lets a man talk to her child that way? The answer sat right there on the witness stand. Lily testified on day 4. I'd prepared her as much as I could, told her to just tell the truth, that she was safe, that I'd be right there in the courtroom. She was so small in that witness chair, but her voice was clear when Glaza asked her questions. Did Brandon ever grab you when you made mistakes? Yes. When I spilled juice on the table, he grabbed my arm really hard. It hurt. Did he do things like that when your mother wasn't looking? Sometimes he'd pinch me, on my side where Mom couldn't see, and he'd tell me if I told on him I'd get in trouble. Were you scared of Brandon? Lily's voice went quieter. Yes. Richard Bellamy tried to shake her testimony during cross-examination. Suggested she was confused. That maybe her dad had told her what to say. Lily, isn't it true that your father is very angry at your mother? That he might want Brandon to get in trouble? My dad is angry because Brandon hurt me, Lily said simply. Nobody told me to lie. Glaza followed up with medical evidence. Photographs of the bruises on Lily's arm taken the day I'd come home. Officer Rodriguez's testimony about interviewing Lily, about how clear and consistent her account had been. Expert testimony from Dr. Walters about how children don't fabricate this level of specific detail about abuse. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. When they came back, the foreman read the verdict. Guilty on all counts. Child abuse. Battery on a child. Corporal injury to a child. Brandon's face went white. His attorney put a hand on his shoulder, but Brandon just sat there frozen. I felt something release in my chest. First real breath in weeks. Sentencing came 2 weeks later. Judge Marian Adams reviewed the case file, looked at Brandon, and spoke with cold precision. Mr. Sands, you abused a child in her own home. You took advantage of her mother's trust and her father's absence to terrorize a 7-year-old girl. The court sentences you to 3 years in state prison, mandatory anger management counseling, and permanent registration as a child abuser. You will never be permitted unsupervised contact with children again. They led him away in handcuffs. He looked back once. Not at me, at Emma, sitting in the gallery. She was crying. He looked away. I watched until he disappeared through the door, and felt nothing but cold, complete satisfaction. 1 week after Brandon's sentencing, I sat in the same courtroom where I'd won emergency custody of Lily. Same judge, William Harris. Same hard wooden benches. Same fluorescent lights that made everything feel sterile and final. This time, though, we weren't fighting about temporary arrangements. This was the end. Emma sat on the opposite side with her attorney, a guy named Robert Clarkson, who looked like he'd drawn the short straw at his firm. Emma had tried to get better representation, but most family law attorneys in Sacramento had heard about the case. Nobody wanted to touch it. Judge Harris reviewed the filed paperwork in silence. The courtroom was quiet except for the shuffle of papers and Emma's occasional sniffles. Clarkson stood up when the judge nodded. "Your Honor, Mrs. Moore made mistakes. She acknowledges that. But she's a mother who loves her daughter. She's completed parenting classes, she's in therapy, and she's working to rebuild her life. We're asking the court to consider shared custody, perhaps a gradual transition starting with weekend visits, and a fair division of assets. Mrs. Moore contributed to the household during the marriage and deserves—" "Mr. Clarkson," Carmina interrupted, standing smoothly. "May I?" Judge Harris gestured. "Go ahead, Ms. Hubert." Carmina didn't waste words. Never did. "Your Honor, Mrs. Moore had an affair while her husband was serving overseas in active combat. She brought Brandon Sands into the family home where he had access to her daughter. She witnessed signs of abuse, grabbing, name-calling, her daughter's fearful behavior, and chose to ignore those signs. When her daughter came to her upset, Mrs. Moore told the child to be more careful around Brandon and to not take his insults personally. She prioritized her relationship with an abuser over her daughter's safety. That's not a mistake. That's a pattern." Emma's attorney tried to object. "Your Honor, people make poor choices when they're lonely." "Poor choices?" I couldn't help it. The words came out harder than I'd intended. Judge Harris held up a hand. "Mr. Moore, let your attorney speak." I sat back. Carmina continued. "Mrs. Moore's loneliness doesn't justify child endangerment. The evidence is clear. She failed every single measure of protective parenting. She not only allowed abuse to occur, she actively discouraged her daughter from reporting it. The CPS investigation documented this thoroughly. California law is explicit. The best interests of the child are paramount. And it is absolutely not in this child's best interest to spend unsupervised time with a mother who has proven she won't protect her." Clarkson stood again. "Mrs. Moore deserves a second chance to be a parent. She's taken responsibility." Judge Harris cut him off. "I've read the CPS report, Mr. Clarkson. Your client didn't take responsibility. She minimized, deflected, and made excuses. She told investigators that Brandon didn't mean it, and that her daughter was overreacting. That's not taking responsibility. That's blame shifting." Emma started crying. Real, ugly sobs. Judge Harris's expression didn't change. "The court grants Nathan Moore full physical and legal custody of the minor child. Emma Moore will have supervised visitation only, 2 hours per week at a court-approved facility. That supervision will remain in place until the child turns 18, unless Mrs. Moore completes parenting classes, ongoing therapy for a minimum of 1 year, and a psychological evaluation proving she can prioritize her daughter's safety over her own desires." Clarkson tried one more time. "Your Honor, that's it's appropriate, Counselor. Mrs. Moore will also pay child support to Mr. Moore in the amount of $800 per month based on her part-time income. She surrenders all claims to the family residence, Mr. Moore's military pension, and all marital assets except her personal vehicle and personal belongings." Emma's face crumbled. "I can't afford—" "Then I suggest you find full-time employment, Mrs. Moore. This hearing is concluded." The gavel came down. Emma sat there, shaking. Clarkson gathered his papers with the defeated air of a lawyer who'd known this was coming. I stood. Carmina touched my arm. "Good outcome. Clean break." "Yeah." We walked out of the courtroom. I could hear Emma crying behind me, but I didn't look back. The courthouse parking lot was nearly empty. Late afternoon sun made the asphalt shimmer. I was halfway to my truck when Emma called out, Nathan, please wait. I stopped, didn't turn around. She caught up, breathless. Nathan, please. She's my daughter too. Can't we figure out some way, some arrangement? I turned to face her then. You had 8 months to figure it out while I was deployed, Emma. You chose to fuck Brandon instead. You chose to let him abuse Lily. Those were your choices. I'm getting therapy. I'm trying to be better. Good. Maybe in a few years when Lily's old enough to decide for herself, she'll give you another chance, but I never will. Nathan, you stopped being my wife the moment you betrayed me. You stopped being Lily's mother the moment you failed to protect her, and no amount of therapy changes that. I walked to my truck, got in, drove away, didn't look back. 6 months slipped by faster than I'd expected. December rolled in cold and clear, and for the first time since I'd come home from deployment, life felt normal. Good even. Lily was thriving. Honor roll at school. Her teacher, Mrs. Patricia Whitmore, had pulled me aside at the last parent-teacher conference to tell me how proud she was of Lily's progress. The nightmares about Brandon had stopped months ago. Lily laughed freely now, made jokes, talked about her friends like any normal 8-year-old should. I'd taken a desk assignment at the base. No more deployments. No more being gone for months at a time. I was there every morning to make breakfast, every afternoon to help with homework, every night to tuck her in. We had routines now. Movie nights on Wednesdays, pizza Fridays, Saturday morning pancakes. I'd even learned to braid her hair. Took me 3 YouTube tutorials and about a dozen failed attempts, but I got there. And then there was Scout. The golden retriever puppy had been an impulse decision back in October. Lily had asked, tentatively, if maybe someday we could get a dog. I'd driven to the shelter that weekend. Scout was 3 months old, all paws and wagging tail and unconditional love. Lily had cried when I brought him home. Happy tears. Yeah, life was good. Then Carmina called. Nathan, we have a problem. I was in the kitchen watching Lily play with Scout in the backyard through the window. My stomach dropped at Carmina's tone. What kind of problem? Brandon Sands is appealing his conviction. The world tilted sideways. What? His new attorney is arguing that you assaulted him first. That you came home, saw Brandon with Lily and immediately attacked him without verifying what was happening. They're trying to paint you as a violent, unstable veteran with PTSD who overreacted. They're claiming the entire case is tainted by your violence. My hand tightened on the phone. I defended my daughter. I know that. But his attorney is arguing something different. They're claiming the video doesn't show what you say it shows. That Lily had just had an accident, that Brandon was frustrated but not abusive, and that you misinterpreted the situation and assaulted him. That's bullshit. You've seen the video. You've heard what he said to her. I know, Nathan. But they're going to argue context, interpretation, your emotional state. They're building a narrative where you're the aggressor and Brandon's the victim. I walked to the window. Lily was throwing a tennis ball for Scout. Her face lit up with pure joy. What happens if they win? I asked, though I already knew the answer would gut me. If they succeed in getting his conviction overturned, it impacts everything. The custody agreement, the divorce settlement, all of it was predicated on Brandon being a convicted child abuser. If that conviction disappears, she didn't finish. She didn't need to. What do? We fight it. We get affidavits from Lily's therapist about the abuse. We get expert testimony. We prove that your response was justified and that Brandon's conviction was sound. But Nathan, this is going to be expensive, exhausting. And I need you to understand something. There's a chance he could win. What? Appeals courts don't like convictions based heavily on child testimony. Kids can be coached, memories can be unreliable. It's not that I don't believe Lily. But Brandon's attorney is going to exploit every possible weakness. If he can create enough reasonable doubt. No. The word came out flat. Final. He doesn't get to do this. He doesn't get to hurt Lily and then walk away clean. Then we fight. But you need to prepare yourself for how ugly this could get. It was already ugly. But I wasn't backing down. The next week I became a man possessed. I contacted Officer Rodriguez and got her full incident report, every observation she'd made when she interviewed Lily that first day. The way Lily had flinched at loud noises. The way she described Brandon's anger in careful, precise detail. The physical evidence of bruising that matched Lily's timeline. I got statements from Lily's teachers. Mrs. Whitmore and 2 others wrote detailed accounts of the changes they'd noticed in Lily during those months Brandon had been around. How she'd become withdrawn. How she'd started crying at small mistakes. How she'd seemed scared of making anyone angry. I got the therapist's notes. Dr. Rose Adams had been seeing Lily since April, working through the trauma. Her clinical assessment was clear. Lily exhibited signs of ongoing abuse, not a single incident. The fear was deep-rooted. The trauma patterns were consistent with sustained psychological and physical harm. Then I did something else. I called Glazer Robinson. "Nathan," she answered. "I heard about the appeal. I'm sorry." "Don't be sorry. Help me bury him. I'm doing everything I can on the prosecution side. That's not what I mean. Glazer predators don't stop with one victim. There have to be others. Other kids Brandon was around, other situations where he got angry, got rough, crossed lines." She was quiet for a moment. "Why are you asking?" "Because if we can prove a pattern of behavior, if we can show this wasn't a misunderstanding or an isolated incident but who he is, it strengthens the case that the conviction was sound." "Exactly. Nathan, I can't officially. I'm not asking you to do anything official. I'm asking if you'll look, quietly, unofficially." Another pause. "I'll look into it." 3 days later, she called me back. "Brandon Sands was fired from a previous job 5 years ago," Glazer said without preamble. "A parent complained that he'd grabbed their kid too hard at a company family picnic. No charges were filed, but there was a formal complaint with HR." My heart started pounding. "Can we get that?" "I'm working on it, and Nathan, that's not all." "And?" I asked. "And I found 2 other parents whose kids were at that picnic. They didn't file complaints, but they remember him. They remember him being rough with their kids, getting frustrated when they didn't listen, handling them too aggressively. Can we get them to testify?" "Better. I can get affidavits, statements describing his behavior. It won't be criminal evidence, but for an appeal? It shows pattern. It shows this wasn't some misunderstanding with Lily. It's who he is." Within a week, we had it all. Affidavits from 2 parents, the Johnsons and the Reeves family, whose children had interacted with Brandon at his previous job. Both described him as having a short temper with kids, being rough, making children uncomfortable. Carmina filed it all as supplemental evidence opposing the appeal. Then Brandon made the mistake that finished him. He gave an interview to a local news station. I watched it at home, Lily already asleep upstairs, and felt my jaw tighten with every word out of his mouth. "I was trying to build a relationship with Emma's daughter," he said, looking sincere and wounded. "I never meant to hurt anyone. But her father came home and just attacked me. He's a veteran, and I think he has issues he hasn't dealt with. He destroyed my life over a misunderstanding." The reporter nodded sympathetically. I picked up my phone and called the news station. "I'm Nathan Moore," I said when they answered. "Brandon Sands just gave you an interview about me. I'd like to provide my side of the story." They scheduled me for the next day. I sat across from reporter Amelie Garcia in her studio and laid it all out. The photographs of Lily's injuries, the police reports, the court documents, and the video, the one where Brandon's voice could be clearly heard telling my 7-year-old daughter that bad girls get punished. Amelie's face went pale as she reviewed it all. "He told us this was all a misunderstanding," she said quietly. "He lied, just like he lied to Emma, to my daughter, and to your station. Brandon Sands is a convicted child abuser trying to rewrite history. I'm just making sure the truth gets told." The follow-up story aired 3 days later. It was devastating. They included excerpts from the police report, statements from Glazer, the video evidence. Brandon's original interview was shown side by side with the facts, making him look like exactly what he was: a liar trying to play victim. Public opinion turned on him like a tsunami. The appeals hearing happened in July. Brandon's attorney argued that the conviction was based on emotion rather than evidence, that I'd been the aggressor, that Brandon had been railroaded by a system that wanted to believe the worst. Then Glazer Robinson stood up and systematically destroyed every single argument. She presented the evidence of prior bad acts from the Johnson and Reeves families, the statements from Lily's teachers about behavioral changes, the therapist's testimony. Dr. Rose Adams took the stand and spoke with quiet authority. "In 20 years of working with abused children," she said, "I have never seen a child fabricate this kind of detailed, consistent testimony. Lily Moore's account is credible, corroborated, and heartbreaking. Mr. Sands' attempts to characterize this as a misunderstanding are not just legally inaccurate, they're morally reprehensible." The appeals court took 2 weeks. I was at the base when Carmina's text came through. Appeal denied. Conviction upheld. He serves the full sentence. I sat at my desk and felt something release in my chest that I hadn't even realized was tight. It was over. 3 years later, I stood in my backyard watching Lily, 12 years old now, throw a tennis ball for Scout. Sandy's daughter Jenny was with her, both girls laughing as the dog bounded after the ball with clumsy enthusiasm. Sandy walked over and slipped her arm around my waist. We'd been married a year now, met at a parent-teacher conference when she was Lily's teacher, and something just clicked. "You okay?" she asked. "Yeah," I said, and I meant it. Lily came running over, Jenny right behind her. "Dad, can we have a bonfire tonight? Make s'mores?" "Absolutely." She hugged me and ran back to play. I thought about how far we'd come. Lily saw Emma maybe once a month now when she felt like it. Usually she said no. Emma had remarried some guy she met online. Good luck to him. Brandon worked at a warehouse somewhere, lived in a studio apartment, completely alone. His name was on every registry in California. No starting over. Not ever. I'd come home from war to find a different war waiting. But I'd won. Completely. Decisively. Sometimes revenge and justice are the same thing. And I'd achieved both. I believe stories such as this find us for a reason. If this one touches you, please subscribe. I share a new one every day. In the meantime, there are 2 stories on the screen that are even better.